What they burn now is called high sulfur fuel oil. So
the
shipping market burns high sulfur fuel oil. So what the oil companies are developing are new compliant fuels that they're kind of calling VLSFO, very low sulfur fuel oil. And they're basically a fuel oil product. I mean, if you think of the barrel, you put it through a refinery, the light ends come off, they go to make gasoline and naphtha. The middle stuff comes off, they're used to make diesel and jet. The bottom stuff comes off, it's used to make bunker fuel and some other stuff. I mean, that's grossly oversimplified, but that's basically it. So what they're going to do now is they're going to make this product called VLSFO, very low sulfur fuel oil. But to get there, they need to take some of the distillate product, something called vacuum gas oil, and blend that in to make VLSFO. So that's number one.
So there's a finite amount of capacity for this vacuum?
Vacuum gas oil.
Vacuum gas oil that's currently being used predominantly in the ULSD market.
Exactly.
Ultra low sulfur diesel market.
And now some of it's going to be
go into.
So they're going to have to share ultimately.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Now there have been capacity increases, okay? The question is we just don't know if there's enough. The second thing, the impact on the diesel market is this. There is an existing product out there called marine gas oil. There's also a product called marine diesel. There's a few slight differences between the two, but it is essentially a diesel product. If you had to diagram the molecules like you did in high school chemistry class, it would be a distillate product. Marine gas oil is a known product. Very low sulfur fuel oil is not. Now they're going through testing, but you keep hearing from a lot of ship owners. I'm going to a conference later this week. I'm expecting I'll hear the same thing, is that a lot of ship owners do not want to run this stuff through their ships until they're sure it's okay. So what are they going to do? They're going to turn to marine gas oil in the interim. So that is a distillate fuel that they'll put right into their ships. Now, of course, if they do that, they won't be putting in VLSFO, which means that the diesel, that the VGO that was going to go in that won't need to go in that. So it's all very complicated. But all of this is going to mean more distillate molecules going into the marine market where they were not there before.
So there's a finite amount of that capacity in the market that gets taken out of the trucking ULSD, the ultra low sulfur diesel market, and therefore we're stuck with just the same, a larger market fighting for the same amount of supply.
That's the fear here. Now there are a couple of things that people are not sure of. What is the rate of non-compliance, where ship owners just say, I'm not going to deal with this. The higher rate of non-compliance is actually good for trucking, because it means your high sulfur fuel oil, you'll still get used. If the price of high sulfur fuel oil collapses really low, then what happens is that the scrubbers that you can put on the ship, where you can still burn the high sulfur fuel oil, it scrubs out the sulfur, so now you're in compliance. That may rise, and therefore that's less demand for very low sulfur fuel oil, which means less demand for diesel. See, this is where, there's been a lot of analogies to IMO 2022, Y2K.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, but Y2K was not a big deal. Everything worked out okay. And my view on that is that Y2K was a finite list of things that you had to fix, and if you didn't fix them, you were in trouble. But basically, everybody fixed everything, so we didn't have an issue. When you're talking about IMO 2020, you're talking about the complexities of these markets all interrelated to each other. What's the price of high sulfur fuel oil? Maybe incentivize scrubbers. Well, I'm not going to comply. I'm going to use marine gas oil instead of VGO. You get all these things here.